All right, today, Run with the Crew episode 2. We've got writer, runner, captain, coach, just all-time good guy Knox Robinson here today. Graciously accepted this invitation, so I'm excited to talk with you about all things running. And we'll talk about some of the intersections, because I feel like you spend a lot of time in a lot of different areas. So welcome to Los Angeles. I hear you recently moved to Crenshaw.
Yeah, I moved out here, I guess it's coming up on, is it going to be 6 months or so?
Has it been that long already?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the road for a lot of that time as these things go. But yeah, it was really at the end, or, I guess August of 2020, kind of as things kind of moved into the second half of that mind-blowing year, that my partner and I decided just to pull up stakes in New York City and moved here. I mean, I lived in New York for 25 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 25 years, more or less. But obviously, it goes without saying, 2020 was such a maddening experience. We spent 4 or 5 months in Mexico City as soon as the pandemic hit, and watching the events in New York City, but also around the United States and indeed around the world transpire. It was really challenging to think about moving back to New York City, like in that space. So I'm a New Yorker. I got love for the city. And Brooklyn's always on my mind and in my heart, but it was an opportunity to kind of move here and just kind of change up the energy. So far, yeah, it's life on Mars.
So that's dope. So like one of the first things that happened, you come out here, like you connect with Good Vibes.
I've been connected with Good Vibes from the genesis of the organization. Marvin Garcia and I, the founder, Marvin Garcia and I, knew each other from way back in Nike Run Club days. I was like one of the founding coaches of Nike Run Club, and sometimes I was lucky to have the opportunity to come out here under the aegis of Nike to do some coaching or work with some events, work with passionate everyday athletes and some of the awesome coaches that were out here working with the swoosh at the time. Sally McRae, obviously trail runner extraordinaire, and Blue Benedum, who's the Nike LA coach as well. So Marvin was part of that community. He was a pacer in NRC, and we connected there.
So let's talk about that intersection actually of Black Roses NYC and Good Vibes Track Club. So some of your folks decided to come out here. So you're a few months into living in Crenshaw. Let's talk about the Crenshaw Olympiad.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think because maybe similar to Good Vibes, like we have like Black Roses NYC has a social media profile. There's always drama circulating around the group. It's serialized, and I think people love following along with the highs and lows of the group in an episodic kind of telenovela way.
Okay.
So it's funny. So it did become a thing. It was this woman in the group, Danielle McNeely, was in her feelings or needed to run a virtual marathon to get credit for having registered for London. I don't know. This is not my thing. But I guess they all organized to kind of come out and do it in LA. And I was kind of like late to the party. I kind of only heard like shouts and murmurs, rumors and whispers about it. But like once I breathe on something, I got to make it a thing. It's just like my appetite, So yeah, we crafted this incredibly awesome route through Crenshaw District, South Central Los Angeles. Some challenging topography as far as running goes, but it was also really great to pass a lot of landmarks for Black culture, whether that's, some of the locations for Issa Rae's Insecure or Inglewood Cemetery where, like iconic Black figures like Ella Fitzgerald are buried. Or just running through Lamert Park and Kenneth Hahn Park as well, where Nothing But a G Thing was filmed. So it was awesome to kind of create and craft and create an entire marathon route that touched on so many incredible landmarks for Black Americans.
Yeah, such a powerful experience. I think one of the things that was moving to me, and I'm behind the camera, so I'm not really necessarily allowed to emote like while I'm filming, but it was like towards the end there was this guy out with what we presume to be his daughter, and she sees Danny and is looking at her almost like a superhero. Like it was so, for us that run, it was such a very normal thing to be out for a run. Not that running a marathon is normal, but just to be out there. But like to her, it was almost as if like, are you real? Like, and seeing that was just such a moving moment, and it was such a fun thing to see at a very like local level, because I think that sometimes when it comes to marathons and things like that, people think about like medals and moving someone from like their accomplishment, but I think that sometimes it may be lost that our movement actually moves our people too, and I feel like it's important for them to see us.
Yeah, you know, Du Bois has this idea of double consciousness, and obviously like it refers to the idea of being an African in America, or a person of African descent in the Americas. Mm-hmm. So we're in two worlds at once, and we're of two minds at once. But that also applies to the runner's brain. You know, like as runners, we're inside our own dream. We're inside our own training particularities and our schedules and our routes and our goals and our dreams. And maybe we don't always, you know, countenance the ways in which we appear to others on our own journey, or the impact that we have. I know folks are fond of saying you can't be what you can't see. But really, when you think about the visual tableau of the black body moving freely and unencumbered through space, running
right
in our own neighborhoods, it's so impactful. And so for me, moving to Crenshaw District, you know, like when a lot of times Marvin from Good Vibes Track Club, he's son of the soil from Crenshaw District, and just talks about like even just a few years ago, people didn't run in Crenshaw District. It's a notorious kind of locus for gang violence and, you know, police violence, extrajudicial violence, shall we say. So it can be a dangerous place, and still is to this day. But the fact that like we can run through the neighborhood, or the fact that like I'm routing like my morning runs through the neighborhood to like image and project that image of like black vitality, black wellness, black physical fitness, black health in a consistent way, is also sort of the energy that was behind the staging of Legotronathon or the Crenshaw Olympiad, to see sisters moving through our neighborhoods is impactful. And you know, your work as a filmmaker captured that really, you know. And I think that we can talk about Nipsey Hussle and the marathon continues, and it's a powerful concept, but what does it mean to marathoners? You know what I mean? Like it means something for the diaspora, you know. But Nipsey had the vision that like the marathon was our cultural product. The marathon like belongs to us. Nipsey was Eritrean, you know, and definitely like as an East African, was well familiar with the legacy, the legends, and the lore of some of the greatest runners in history coming from Eritrea and Ethiopia. So the fact that part of his legacy is this concept of the marathon continues, coming from the street rap game, how does that inform our culture? How is that a standard that we can raise to today? But then also, what does that mean to marathoners like Danielle McNeely? So it's an interesting idea to consider.
It certainly is. And so you touched on the motherland, as a matter of fact. So you end up with this crazy collaboration with iFit, where you're actually in South Africa.
What's incredible, yeah. So like, right when I was moving to Los Angeles, like I fell into this relationship with this digital fitness platform called iFit. They had some incredible running content. It was mostly like training and core fitness with some running content. The catch is it's really charming and dynamic trainers and personalities filmed against the backdrop of some of these epic locations around the world. So my first foray with them was an episodic 12 workout journey filmed in the backwoods of Oregon. Second or third day, the producer's like, if you could shoot any, and I didn't even let him finish the sentence. I was like, Ethiopia, Africa. You know, for me, my default setting for any time to go anywhere to do anything, I always want to go to Africa. anywhere in Africa to do anything, because we can never unlock it enough for ourselves as people of African descent in the Americas. Every chance we get to share resources with Africa, every chance we get to blow money in Africa, spend bread in Africa, while out in Africa, like we have to do that as the sons and daughters of the diaspora. So it was incredible to end up in South Africa and really, again, do this coaching, fitness, experiential running journey with African culture and African running culture as the bedrock of running culture, as part of the heartbeat for that series. And then on a production level, on a technical level, I'm sure you can appreciate as a filmmaker, the high production value with a really nimble crew on the ground. So we were just shooting with a GoPro on a gimbal with supplemental drone footage, and to kind of like make that into compelling workout videos is awesome and fun as well.
Yeah, having seen like some snapshots of it, this to me was a great example of it's never really your gears. It's what's being taught, what's being discussed, what's being shown, and like the turnaround time was crazy for what it looked like. If you wouldn't have told me that it was a GoPro, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing. It's amazing to see. So for those of you that are debating on getting an iFit subscription, like it's some good stuff on there. We got Knox on this. We got to support.
Friendly fire.
All right, cool. So let's bring it back a step here. So we're talking next level production, being able to get in touch with running from a digital standpoint. Let's take it back to, I guess, a point in time where running was a bit more analog. And I want to talk a little bit about Ted Corbett, because I don't think enough people know about what he means to just running, let alone just how we should look at him as Black folks.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that we don't know enough, that's true. I don't know if we'll ever know enough. Like, the man is a mystery. Born in 1919, same year as Jackie Robinson, and over the course of his lifetime, had so many epic accomplishments. He was the first Black American to represent the United States in the Olympic marathon at Helsinki. He, in 52, I think, he was the first president of the New York Roadrunners and was co-architect of the New York City Marathon course that, we should have celebrated the 50th anniversary of this past fall. He had for a long time the streak of the most sub-3 hour finishes at the Boston Marathon. So this guy was a distance runner and an ultramarathon non-pariah. At the same time, he was a pioneer of clean eating and massage therapy, physical therapy, and was really, Ted Corbett really was an ambassador for the sport. In his time, Ted Corbett was a proud member of the New York Pioneer Club, which was the first integrated sports club in the United States, founded in 1936 by Joseph Yancey, and they integrated in the decade before Jackie Robinson integrated the major leagues. And so the legacy of this multiracial, multicultural athletics club through some of the most harrowing periods of the 20th century for Black Americans was really a testament to Ted's vision, his empathy, and his long-running commitment to this culture of which we're the beneficiaries of today. So, yeah, to me, Ted Corbett is a touchstone, and really an opportunity to go back and perpetually mine for inspiration. In the Zen formulation, a koan of mystery to consider and decipher, but also, again, a standard to raise for future generations to kind of understand what that innovation and inspiration can mean for our people.
Well said. So thinking about the future, so you had an opportunity to collaborate with Tracksmith to honor the New York Pioneer Club.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was about a year ago. I've been a supporter of Tracksmith from day one. I would probably like disavow the trappings and the appurtenances of their Ivy League kind of creative direction and imprimatur, since I went a different route with my own education and probably have different values as someone a little more left-leaning and antagonistic as far as like overthrowing the hegemony and the status quo and the death throes of the late capitalist state under which we labor. But be that as it may, I liked what they were doing from a distance. And about a year ago, the founder, Matt Taylor, called me up and wanted to do some stuff, a range of ideas. And for me, I had to center doing an homage to the New York Pioneer Club first and foremost, front and center. So before I even discussed a relationship with Tracksmith in my own group as far as a sponsorship with Black Roses NYC, or before it came to writing for some of their publications and putting like my editorial background in that mix, I really wanted to uplift the story of New York Pioneer Club with the platform that Tracksmith was offering. And so we were able to drop like a real small kind of homage collection, the proceeds of which went to a running program in Brooklyn that supports girls and young women called Jeunesse TC. Jeunesse was founded by some women who ran for Adams TC, and Adams TC in Brooklyn was a women-based track club founded by a member of the New York Pioneer Club. So it was a real full circle moment to be able to connect those resources, have excitement over the collection, drive resources to young women and Black girls in Brooklyn. So those are the kind of like intersectionalities that we can orchestrate, that we can arbitrate, that we can put into play, for the benefit and upliftment of our folks.
Certainly. And so Tracksmith, we need a restock. I was one of the folks that was looking forward to purchasing.
Tracksmith, we gotta need a restock, yo. Not for nothing. We gotta need a restock.
I bought the hoodie. I got the T-shirt. I would have bought, if there was a pin or a pennant, I would get that too. Like, I'm one of those folks that want to go all in. So we definitely need.
There's pins and pennants. You didn't see?
I must have missed. I got to take a deeper look.
Gotta dig. Tracksmith, we gotta put the pen and the pennants like up close in front and center. We'll probably center. Maybe we'll do something for February.
That would be dope, because that's when this is supposed to come out. So if I do my job, hopefully Tracksmith, y'all help us out. I want to dig a little bit deeper into that, because there's a number of other nuances that took place with the collection that I think that to the discerning eye, you start to recognize some things. So first and foremost, instead of just picking up some models, roses are the folks that are being featured in that. I imagine that there's a potential for having lots of different photographers want to have the opportunity to do that.
Sure.
But you tap Sean.
Well, just so much of the work that any cultural producer needs to do these days is to have your default settings. So for me, if there's an opportunity to do anything, I'm always thinking about how can we go to Africa and connect. Mm-hmm. And just when we're thinking about the beneficiaries of our efforts when it comes to a give back, we have to center organizations and opportunities and platforms for girls and young women, whether that's Jeunesse Track Club or Girls Gotta Run Foundation, which is the only charity operating in Ethiopia that provides scholarships, academic and athletic scholarships for girls and young women. So our defaults have to be centering Black people, centering Black women, centering women. So it was awesome to put Black Roses members in the Pioneer Club collection for Tracksmith, just to image Black women, to center Black women. One of the people in Black Roses, Erica Stanley Dotton, ran for Adams TC, the aforementioned club that was founded by a Pioneer Club member. So there's a lot of full circle energy. Ryan Schaefer, who is in Black Roses NYC, is a frat brother of the founder of New York Pioneer Club, Joseph Yancey. And so there's a lot of behind the scenes personal storytelling just with the members of Black Roses NYC that connects to New York Pioneer Club. And if you kind of read some of these details with the founders or the scant coverage that they were afforded over the course of their, kind of tenure in the 20th century, there is a lot of like overlap or inspirational similarities between our hardscrabble efforts with Black Roses NYC and what was going on with Pioneer Club and how they operated in the firmament of clubs in New York and the United States. To work with Sean Pridgeon, an incredibly talented, sharply spirited photographer, it was incredible. He had his ideas of what he wanted to do. He shot it, and really, it's an opportunity for these kind of things to have a photographer present their best work. And so really the distinctive pictures that he made to uplift this collection are really kind of just like a circle back to Sean as a creative, as a thinker, as a passionate brother, as a runner. And so it made sense to highlight his work, even as we were kind of like speaking to the Pioneer Club capsule collection with Tracksmith.
So powerful, man. I think that this show is all about, while running should be used as a thread. Like there's a number of us who do a number of other things. Running just happens to be one of those things. And I'm glad you were thoughtful, and I think you brought up something really important, which is to think about our default settings and how are the ways that we can continue to work with each other to widen the pool of not only like sharing of resources, but the distribution of like what is taking place. Because I think ultimately that is how we grow.
Yeah.
2018, Project Moonshot, all over New York City, these billboards start popping up. Various people have moonshots of completing a marathon in a certain time, being able to break down a stereotype of what a marathon looks like. You say you want to melanate the marathon. We're going into 2021 now. How is that mission progressing? How do you even measure the progress of doing something so bold?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I guess it's a substantive question. Like, how do you measure progress? But melanation is relative. Obviously, in the context of the diaspora, we got all tones. So just evening out the tone of what a marathon looks like is progress. I mean, I guess when you were kind of like talking about this idea, when I kind of like was capping talking about I want to melanate the marathon, it was really, it's an idea, it's an aspiration to see more representation, to get more Black folks out there doing it and encouraging. But also, I think it's also an idea in contrast between our own self-obsessed and narcissistic and self-centered goals when it comes to running. I mean, running is a rabbit hole that's going to draw you into, again, self-obsession and narcissism. Running seduces you into that. I understand it. I'm guilty of that more than most. But at the same time, it also has tremendous opportunity for upliftment, and it has a tremendous potential to literally and figuratively take us to another place. And so the running journey is an opportunity for us to sublimate our egos and sublimate our concept of self and really connect to a larger energy field, I guess. And so for me, to kind of share this idea to change the melanin gradient of the marathon as a concept, I guess I hope that's an idea that we can think on other levels, not higher levels or lower levels or to the right or to the left, but just other dimensions and other realms. So much respect to everybody who's chasing their goal. Much respect for everybody in line to get like the new fastest shoe when it drops. Much respect to everybody who is paying money for a fancy coach and expensive clothes and immaculate training programs and sharing it all on social media for the edification of their followers. But what else is there? What else can happen? How else might we be transfigured by all this mileage? there's this idea from a book, Once a Runner, the trial of miles and miles of trials.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to us and others when we emerge from that crucible of that training process? But I guess you have to train to get to that point.
So I think you mentioned Once a Runner. I think that's actually a really good segue into talking about you as a writer. So it's my understanding that you went to Wake Forest. You got to get taught by Dr. Maya Angelou. You're one of the
I got taught and I got schooled by Dr. Those are two different things. Getting taught and getting schooled are two different things, and both happened.
People know or maybe don't know the article that has been now infamously named Drip Choge. Like, you're the guy that was that wrote that. Like, help me even understand like how those two worlds make sense. Like, you got one of the most awesome poets ever, and we've got you in like Wired magazine, GQ magazine, and things like that. Like, that's what this show is about, is trying to make sense of things that seem like they don't go together, but they do.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a silly example, but I just think about, the first person who put peanut butter together with jelly. Like, all his friends was like, nah, man, they didn't go hit. And then everyone was like, just try it. And everyone was like, yo, I see this is something to this peanut butter and jelly thing. So, I don't know, man. It's just like, we know that, like, things that don't go together are, like, where, like, the richness and the resonance comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting to kind of put opposites together and figure out there. I mean, when I was studying Taoism in China, it's all right there in the symbol for yin and yang, right? Because it's a swirling moment, and black is here and white is here, but every time there's black, there's like an element of white in it, and every time there's black, every time there's white, there's an element of black in it. Okay. And I guess that contrast, that high relief contrast, is like how we even perceive things, So, for me as a writer, I guess it doesn't seem out of place in running culture. It seems that, like, that's indeed where the framework of understanding running culture would come from a writer's kind of consistent documentation and framing of that culture as a practice, as work. And I like to think that's sort of what I've been doing for these years. There's incredible photographers who have come in and out of running culture. There's incredible writers and poets who come in and out, and I like to think that I'm just kind of like there living it and documenting it on a daily level. And sometimes I'm like, oh man, what if things would have went a different way, and I could be in a lab right now working on a cure for COVID, or what if things went a different way and I was writing some deep shit. But like, for now, this is my métier, this is my workbench, this is my practice, and come by it honestly, and I'm on the front lines faithfully.
Well, we appreciate you. A question that I would like to understand a little bit more about is, within that, one of the things that I'm really looking to understand more about people who make things is like their process. When do you know a piece is ready?
I'm always gonna know a piece is ready just off the tempo, off the energy of it. Mm-hmm. Sadly, that almost never aligns with the deadlines prescribed by others. So ask around. I've notorious blowing deadlines. I'm blowing deadlines right now as I talk to you. So that's not something I'm proud of, and it's definitely been like an albatross around my neck. But I do know that I'm very in touch with my own process as a writer, the cadence of my own creative output. And so I know my flow. And I kind of know how my writing comes together. I know how to put it together. And for me, honestly, I could always do with more structure and like more physical space or more opportunity to like live the life as a writer, because, I'm kind of like helter-skelter in these days. Happily so in a lot of ways. But yeah, I definitely still want to be a writer when I grow up. and I'm always kind of angling for more time and space to do that. And I think, this move to Los Angeles is gonna afford me that. It's bigger space, living in Crenshaw, being able to stretch out and, kind of like carve out a room of one's own and maybe, what do you want? Do you want things to be exciting and hectic and going to Africa to shoot fitness videos? Or do you want to be like cut off in a, garret apartment, forging in the smithy of your soul, the unburdened conscience of your race? I'm having a good time on the road while I'm out in Africa. But I definitely do in my heart of hearts, like, identify as a writer and would thrive, I think, with more time and space to do that,
Is there a project potentially or some idea that you've got dancing around in your head that would allow you to merge the two things and focus in on that, on like writing about whatever that out there idea is?
Sure. I think about it all the time. I've been thinking about it for a decade, and like, what if I got a book deal? And now I'm like, I don't even need a book deal. Like, what if I like sat my ass down and wrote something and like self-published it? So it's not even about a book deal.
Yeah.
But like, what would I do? Like, could I ghostwrite a biography, the autobiography of Eliud Kipchoge? Sure. Could I, write a disquisition on the life of Ted Corbett? I'd like to think so. When it comes time for me to write my own thing, I just know that I would write some like real wild, hectic shit. I do want to write a book that like, when you open it up, it doesn't touch on these little bullshit feelings about what it's like to like run on like freshly fallen snow. I don't want to write a book that like what the wood smells like at dawn. I don't want to write a book about how hard it is to run in the desert. Like, I did all that. I love all that. That's in me. But I guess I just want to write a real wild, hypertextual experience that when you put it down, you just say, damn, it feels like when you have those long runs or workouts that you finish on zero and you can't really explain it to anybody else. I kind of want to write a book that like you finish and you feel like you finish on zero and someone's like, yo, how was that Knox Robinson book? You'd be like, I don't know, man. It's hard to explain. I want to write something wild. I want to write something messy. I want to write something complicated. I want to write something challenging, And in the meantime, I'll take a book deal and just write some biography shit for the money.
What level of focus would it take from you in order to just do it?
Yeah, I know. Think about that all the time when I'm by myself. And does that mean like what level of focus, like how much would like the book deal have to be for me to sit down and do it? Or the opposite,
okay.
How broke would I have to be like,
just throw it all out there.
Yeah, like, damn, this running shit dried up. Like, I got run out of town. The boy Knox got canceled. Everyone got into cycling. No one cares about running anymore. People just want to hear from like white coaches in a training program. They don't want to hear from the boy no more. What could I do? I could paint houses. I could sell vintage clothes in the street. Let me sit down and write this book and push that out. Like, so I don't know if it's like I have to be down and out or have to be like get a big deal, with bread attached. So I don't know. Either way, I think about it all the time. Like, what's it gonna take for me to sit down and write this shit?
I would look forward to reading it. I'm one. Hopefully, there's hundreds, thousands of people that are gonna see this. I'm really not one to necessarily push somebody to go write a book like just cause, right? But I do think
I want it to be a disappointment when I do. I want you to get it.
Do you want it to be a disappointment?
Yeah.
Like why,
I don't know. I want it to be not what you thought it was gonna be. Like,
it can be.
What's it gonna be? Like a training manual, like how to train, and here's a schedule.
I didn't say it had to be that.
There's probably people. The editor will want there to be like blank pages in the back where you can write your feelings. Like my journal. it's part of training manual and part of a gratitude journal. Like what do they want it to be in the publishing industry? They want it to be like a feelings, like Black Joy running book. Like, I'm trying to do something where people are just like, what?
In this world that I am describing, you have carte blanche, and this is why I try to think about things not only from an aspirational level, but also from a practical level, right? So one of the things that I've expressed to you in private, and I'll make public here, is that one of the most eye-opening things for me in making something like, as far as like film, was the thought or notion like, oh, I'll make it good enough one day and then somebody will pay me for it. But then realizing like, I can just go buy the equipment and make whatever I want. I'm not saying that making a book is as simple as that, but the moment like that clicked in and I actually just made something because I just wanted to make it, then it was like, oh, like what other reason do I have not to do this thing? Is it actually like a skill? Is it do I not have enough stuff? Do I not have a person to sit in front of? So it's not to say the two things are equal, but on this show, like I like to dig into some of the things that make things practical, because ultimately, one of the things that I believe you and I share in common when it comes to running is that it is wildly practical. Like there is an A with some level of resources. You're trying to get to B with whatever it is that you have.
Sure.
And so when I ask that question, that's more what it's about.
That's yet another parallel with running, right?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? Like, there's always going to be barriers to like you getting to where you want to go, whether like metaphysically, physically, literally, metaphorically. How bad do you want it? Like, how early in the morning are you willing to get up to run? And maybe that's like a one-day rhetorical question, but over time you're like, I just got to get it going. I mean, for me, honestly, this is wild, but for me, Instagram was like single-handedly probably like the most revitalizing force in my writing. I was the editor-in-chief of a music magazine called The Fader, and you speak about carte blanche. I'm ruined by carte blanche. I could write damn near whatever I wanted to, in the ways I wanted to. Wasn't edited at all, except learning like the kind of editing that makes a piece, that elevates a piece, not my voice or anything. Mm-hmm. And then, took a break from that. And then, and writing about running on Instagram really brought something back. I mean, it really appeals to some of my appetites to write real short, intense bursts of expression rather than like really long discursive, even though I speak that way, like long discursive pieces. It's inspired by some of the writings of the Ecuadorian writer Eduardo Galeano, as well as like the Gazette format that Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston flirted with on their road trip around the American South as writers, in the Harlem Renaissance era, where they were just like traveling around, Zora Neale Dirt Tracks on a Dusty Road era, and like filing these dispatches back to like newspapers in Harlem that you would just kind of like read little blitz and but. I mean, for me, like, who doesn't love to read the police blotter? I guess that's what I'm saying. Is like, my mom's favorite section of the newspaper is the police blotter, you know. And so for me, my literary appetites, far from like Nobel. I mean, I love like Nobel laureate literature, but I love police blotters. I love spy novels, and I love pulpy, accessible stuff like that. So for me, as a writer, as a runner, it's like, what does it take to get started? And for me, the platform of Instagram, being able to mix image and text is directly at the center of like my consciousness, like image and text. So once I got a little insight that I could abuse the caption requirements and like post a really hard-boiled idea, especially like years ago, like training up and downs, perspectives, heartbreak. Like, I really like to think I wrote some wild shit. And so honestly, if someone came around and put a little bread in my pocket, I would just go and like put together, like drop a small chapbook of like my Instagram writing, honestly, to get started. If I wanted to like get off my ass and put something out, I would publish a book about like, distance running,
I think that's a hell of an idea. See what happened? Just see what just happened when somebody just kept
My
asking,
editor.
asking
My editor. This guy's trying to get 10% after this. I'm gonna see you in court for that 10%. I'll be like, yo, I don't even know him. He'd be like,
I just
yo.
want to reference that we talked about this.
It's on tape too. You'd be like, yo, Exhibit A. I gave him the idea, so.
Nah, just mentioning that you had a conversation, and you know, and that finally I just went ahead and just
got me.
Push forward to it. Going into Instagram.
Yeah.
Someone shows up there, doesn't really know where to start or how to get started. So something that I think that might be helpful for some folks, particularly our folks, black and brown folks, is to hear from you 2 or 3 things that they could do tomorrow to incorporate into their run to be a bit better.
As they say, I'll tell you what somebody told me. I finished my run this morning a short while ago, and as I was walking to the car to get in and drive out here to meet you, a sister just said to me, balance, patience. And I guess I would just tell that to folks. The running journey is so seductive, and it's incredible when it's on, but you know, it takes so much time on a physiological level to build up that cardiovascular engine, to build the oxygen transporting pathways in the body. Just take your time to enjoy it. It's great to be goal oriented, but also we get to those goals through the process, and the process shows itself through patience and balance. So I would say that. I would say, like, when it comes time to working out and all that, make sure you get that good warm up and cool down in. It's not just about, you know, these workout notes that you get from like the internet or a coach, or like slamming it, you know, and kind of like going through it. And then I think the last thing is just do it in your own way. Let's do it in our way, you know. It's our thing. Running's a black thing. So let's just do it in our way. We don't have to perform running for the white gaze. We don't have to perform running for the approval or, you know, the acknowledgement of a multinational brand. We can just do it for ourselves, with ourselves, you know, and that's a celebration of running and of self and of culture, you know, as much as anything else.
If you had a billboard that you could put anything on it, what would it say?
I would put billboards up in our neighborhoods around the world, and it would just like say, I love you. It's a powerful statement. It's an arresting statement to see. You driving to work, or you moving through the hood, or you going to the store, and you just like see like a huge billboard that says, I love you. Like that can be impactful.
I'd agree with that. I think that's a great place to end the interview. Thank you so much for doing this.
I'm excited to be here.
Going back to the time that I met you at Brooklyn Mile, you were sitting down getting ready for a race, and I was thinking to myself, like, all right, this is the time I'm going to introduce myself why dude is getting ready for a race. You told me to hit you up sometime. I did. This has been dope.
I appreciate the opportunity, and again, like I really love watching your work grow and expand and come into fuller flower. I think that the intensity and the alacrity with which you're putting your resources at the storytelling disposal of our culture is super inspiring, and so I'm really looking forward to like whatever drama we can cook up in the future. I look forward to like getting in trouble in Africa with you for sure.
Thank you so much. Knox Robinson, everyone. See you next time.
Namaste.
Peace.